welcome to the pilot episode of the Extra Place podcast. And I'm delighted to have recruited Will Penswick on a transfer deadline day deal.
Thank you. I don't think people know what that means.
Well, it's just transfer deadline day yesterday, isn't it? So, yeah.
No, more the idea of me, like you recruited Will Penswick, as though I used to play for Plymouth Argyle back in the early noughties.
Just introducing you. You're a championship manager, 2000-2001 expert. So
yeah, one of the only ones left alive anyway.
So that's why you're here. Right. Without further ado, the games this weekend, starting with the Merseyside derby. There's a bit of value basically on Liverpool to win at some point. Shouldn't really have gone above 1.43 according to my spreadsheet. So the price on Liverpool shouldn't really be above 1.43, but it went to 1.45. Did you watch in midweek? That might be because the market just thinks that they've been a bit underwhelming, basically.
I think that's it, really. They've been a bit underwhelming. I also think that their midfield has taken another knock, quite literally, actually, with Jordan Henderson being out this weekend and Arthur Melo not quite back to where they want him. So maybe they've been sold a dud there. You never know. Maybe he's like an old second-hand motor that's not actually.
What do you mean? He's injured already?
He's injured already. Yeah, they've recruited somebody who's injured, which is, I gather, exactly what they didn't want to happen.
That is a bit farcical, isn't it? But I think Harvey Elliott's been playing very well, and I think he could probably make the England team if he keeps getting a spot for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think he is. I think it's quite interesting though, because he's not. They've turned him into a bit of a 10 or a bit of a number 8, maybe an attacking 8. But he's not going backwards. He's not as efficient as someone like Henderson or Wijnaldum.
No, he's not as defensive. Yeah, sure. He's attacking. Yeah.
He is, and he looks like a really tidy player, and he's only going to get better. But I think the reason for that sort of price reflection is probably because they're a bit vulnerable in the middle, and for instance, and this is a good metric to go by, I think, I haven't picked Salah as my captain in my fantasy team for this very reason, because I just don't see them breaking down Everton that easily.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be a back-to-the-wall job for Everton, kind of, the way they play under Lampard, basically, because they're shit, for want of a better word?
No, I do, though. I do. I think that's pretty much the hope. And I think
but they surely can't stay up doing that, just grinding out draws every game. That's not going to keep you up, is it?
No, I think after this weekend, one of Gerrard or Lampard will have gone.
I think that's a big call very early on.
No, I just think that they're both. I actually didn't think this about Gerrard, but I've always thought Lampard was clueless.
To be honest, like on paper, they say that the way his teams play and all the underlying metrics and the XG, they're so terrible, and he was pretty terrible at Chelsea and Everton or whatever. But on paper, he got that Chelsea team when they couldn't sign any players into the top 4. He did quite a good job at Derby, beat Man United or on penalties or whatever. And then he's kept Everton up when they were looking like they were going down. So he's actually, done the tasks needed of him at each club.
He has. That obviously it's an overused word, but the kind of identity of his teams, I wouldn't be able to pick it out in a lineup.
But then when you go from managing, a championship team to a top 4 team in Chelsea to a relegation candidate, like no managers actually do that. Like, you think of any managers who went from a team that's trying to get into the Champions League to a team that's trying to avoid relegation. It's not many have done it, and you obviously have to play a very different way.
Yeah, I think that's right. But then I think if you compare him to somebody who was also under a fair bit of pressure in Kenny, I was going to say Kenny Rogers, not Kenny Rogers, Brendan Rodgers. He looks,
Yeah. Yes, no,
Brendan Rodgers.
yeah.
You can tell that his team have a shape, and actually it might be an adapted shape because I think he's sort of tweaked things wherever he's gone. He's not really stuck to the same mold. But I think that there's a real way of playing and a kind of on the counter who the ball's going to who's going to drop to. They know in defence who's going to be marshalling and who's going to be sort of organising the defence. With his teams now, I don't with Lampard. Sorry, I don't think he truly knows what he wants going forward or backwards. I think he's just tried to. I think he's just tried to create an 11 with, sort of like basically of 11 reasonable footballers. Yeah. I don't think there's like anyone you would say in that team is like a standout player. And maybe, Gordon looks like a good player, but he, debatably he's out of position. I think he's a great footballer, but I think he's out of position. I think, like even Dwight McNeil's return for Burnley last year. I don't know if I think he didn't have any goal involvements for Burnley last year. And I think he's basically got him off the back of the fact that he's just a tidy footballer. And it's like, well, these guys, it's kind of not good enough, Mopé might be a good signing for them. Actually, it might give them a bit of impetus, but
well, they signed him yesterday.
Yeah. And I think that if he starts, it could be that Liverpool could actually be in for a bit of an afternoon because it could give Everton a bit of a focal point, whereas they've not had that.
Yeah. There's also a bit of value on under 4.5 goals and under 5.5 goals. So, the market's sort of backing a very high score, or slightly more than it should. What we're doing here
I think it'll be low.
Yeah. And what we're doing here is getting in at 1.2, well, laying at 5, which is equivalent to 1.25 backing, and then trying to lay it off at 1.23, which is what the price should be. So potentially that could even get matched before the match starts if the money floods in a different way. And same thing on under 5.5 goals, so laying at 10.5 and then trying to lay it off at about, what should the price be? 1.08. So that could be matched in the first few minutes of the game, but give us a good shot at a couple of low risk winners. There's also some good match bets to do on SkyBet. They're offering Salah to have a shot on target at even money, which £10 match, which you can lay off at Matchbook at 1.51. The SkyBet Club boost is also Luis Diaz to have 2 shots on target at 3.75, which you can lay off on the Betfair Exchange at 3.5. So that's £25 max. It will also qualify you for a another £5 free bet. And on Betfair Sportsbook, they've also got Luis Diaz to have 1 shot on target at evens, and you can lay that off at Matchbook at 1.61. I'd underlay both the top and the bottom one, probably the middle one as well. I normally underlay. But that could potentially get you, £5 there and £4, £9 profit just from Luis Diaz and Mo Salah both having a shot on target. And you imagine that Liverpool will be peppering Everton's goal, even if it's not high quality chances they manage to get.
Yeah, they like to get shots off, don't they?
Yeah. So also managed to get in over on Markets. That's a tiny little back to lay. Oh, I think I've done it wrong. No, there we go. Yeah. 45p now, risk-free on Liverpool. Lovely jubbly from backing them at 1.45 and then selling at 1.43. So that's the price going too high.